Hello again.
Hello.
Are we
Hi.
happy? We're having a good time?
Absolutely.
Midnight's announced. It was a big deal. That trailer and stage setting was pretty phenomenal.
Nothing like an expansion announcement. It's always so satisfying, just kind of pulling back the curtain on what the team's been working on for years and years and just getting it all out there.
Well, you made us all feel really old because you were like, it's 10 years ago we did Legion on this stage. I was like, oh my God, 10 years. And that feels like yesterday to me when we got there. But you announced...
Same.
Doesn't it? It feels...
Yeah.
I was like, Legion, oh yeah, I just did that. That's cool. One of the things I wanted to touch on, because you've announced so much for Midnight, and I wanted to come to Maria, how's the storytelling been now you're doing the saga with like planting seeds of what's going to happen later on? Has that changed the dynamic internally?
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah.
When we have the opportunity to figure out our pacing across the entire arc, across 3 expansions, it opens so many possibilities for better pacing, for letting us introduce and play a little bit with some of the characters and then leave them and go to something else and then bring this back and weave it in. And it just gives us a lot more freedom. And I'm actually, one of the things I was very excited about with Dragonflight was the opportunity to tell some story in some of our content releases, and help have a prologue before we went into the big content. Here, though, I can pace things out really, really effectively. I can move things around. I know what the main beats are and where they're going to be, but beyond that, it's very flexible, and so it's been freeing.
I'm kind of curious how many seeds you've planted in The War Within, which we're not actually going to see till the last Titan, because you've obviously gone, you know, we could do this thing here, and I'm really waiting for that moment in the story, which is like, oh, because we got teased with the Guardian flying around Hallerfall. I was like, is that Khadgar? Is Khadgar flying around? Is he a worm boy? But have you laid some? I don't looking for spoilers, but have you been layering in some things that are going to pay off much later?
Absolutely. Like that's what this lets us do. This lets us say, ooh, let's do a little thing here, and then let's not revisit that for a while. And then when it comes, they'll be like, oh. Or if they figured it out, they'll feel so smart. They'll be like, oh, wow, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen.
Are you browsing fan theories at all? Did anybody see it?
I read them sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I read them sometimes.
And it's always fun. And several people are correct. And honestly, like, that's a sign that we're actually probably
should
doing
be.
our jobs well.
Yes.
Right. It's like, the point isn't just to completely shock people with something that no one could have guessed. If no one could have guessed it, then we didn't foreshadow it very well.
Well, we end up with an Emperor Snoke, which is like, okay, this is a nothing burger that just went nowhere. Like, okay. But that's something I wanted to come back to, because one thing I noticed about The War Within and coming back is you've written a lot more almost emotionally mature stories that are really deep. Because we talked last time me and you spoke during Dragonflight, it was the big dog quest that was happening out there, which everybody resonated with. And then in The War Within, the dwarf storyline that was actually happening with like the AI around it. Has that been something you guys have pushed? Because the age limit on the game's not changed, but it does seem like you're pushing a bit more of a mature story.
I think part of it is that we decided to expand a little bit on our local stories, which are the tales that are intended to talk about the cultures and the individual characters that live within a place. And in those, we ask quest designers to really dig deep and think about things that are meaningful to them, that they think will be resonant, that they can tell through the culture. So the very, very popular one with War Within was, of course, the person dealing with someone who's going to pass soon, who's losing their memory, right?
That was really dark. I wasn't ready for it.
And that comes from them having experienced that in their life. And so giving people the opportunity to tell those stories, that really resonates with our player base globally. Everybody can relate to that situation because they can put themselves in those shoes. And similarly, like we're doing the same thing with the campaign. We're trying to think through motivations very strongly. We're trying to think through feelings very strongly and make sure that we're being true to the characters and they're reacting in ways that we'd expect.
Are we happy with how that's going?
Mostly.
Yeah?
Mostly.
I want to include some mechanical stuff of this, because you've included a lot of stay a while and listen. Because you know a lot of players are like clicking, go, but the real emotional beats come from there. I'm wondering what the retention has been like. Have you seen a big uptake of people like, actually I'm okay with this? Because, you know, there's a big feedback that you get from a lot of stream communities. It's like, wow, story, lol. But the effort is there. And now you've got all these extra moments that are happening, like playing chess, and just these little simple moments. Has that been something you've seen a good uptake of from people?
Yeah. I mean, we collect metrics on this, and we have seen sort of what percentage of players started off choosing to listen to those, and and it's grown actually. As somebody has heard from their friend, oh, did you know about such and such? No, where did you hear that? Oh, I did the stay a while. It was important to us, though, that you were never trapped. You never felt you couldn't move on, right? If you just want to play, you just want to go through it, you want to go as fast as, great.
Yeah, there's a conscious change in quest design philosophy. Like years and years ago in WoW, it was not uncommon sometimes to go to turn in a quest. That's like, you have to stand there and listen to this monologue that plays out for 40 seconds before you can actually like accept your next quest and move on. And meanwhile, a good chunk of players we know are like, come on, like,
I just want the level. Exactly. I just want the experience. That's all I want in the world. And on the side note of that, one thing I noticed you did in the War Within is people almost trained to play that way. But what you did is start having the NPC, certainly if it's an escort mission or something like that, the dialogue would just play. We know you're going to skip this almost. We know you're going to click and go, but then it'll play out, so at least they have some understanding of the story. Is that, again, a philosophy change mechanically? It's like, we kind of know this, but we want to bring them in. So now what we'll do is we'll do much more voice acting. Like Koresh, there was so much voice acting that it started overlapping. I was like, okay, you guys need to be quiet. But we have seen these, the talking head boxes far more used. And is that you're trying to, this story is good, we believe in it. Is that something we're going to see going forward?
I think it's like, at a baseline level, if you are literally, like, you're not going to read a single word of quest text, you're just blasting through, just spawning environmental storytelling, VO, should be enough to give you a general sense of what's going on, what the stakes are, who the major actors are, and then of course there's all that depth there if you want to dig for it. And then of course the people who are actively interested in seeking out and understanding all of it, they're going to consume it all. But like that's something that we actually like think about in playtests. Like if you're just blasting through, do you have any idea what this quest line was about? And if the answer is no, that's something to address.
Yeah, you guys want these people in the story.
Yeah, if it's critical, we put it in, we make sure you have to hear it, right? But only the very critical things, the most critical things.
Yeah, the bullet points, essentially. It's like, okay, you should know what you're doing in general, and then maybe you're going to take a taste of it and be like, okay, this is kind of cool. One thing that I've noticed since I've been playing a lot more recently, the cadence of content out of you guys is kind of absurd to the point where I don't know how you did this. You went from where we were, and then you, as we've talked about Ian a lot, it's like turning that ship is not easy. This is a giant freight train, and turning it is not easy. And now we're here where, I'm not quite a fan of retail. No worries, we just released Classic. We've got Remix coming up as well. How's that shift internally been with this sheer amount of content?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been investing in the team, growing the team, and changing the team structure to parallelize more. So that we don't have bottlenecks, we don't in terms of reviewing and approving things, but we also don't have resource contention. We have people who are dedicated to making smaller patches, our live team. We have folks who are dedicated to odd-numbered expansions, folks who are dedicated to even-numbered expansions, folks who are dedicated to Classic. And so we're not, occasionally, of course, we borrow from one to solve an issue in the other, but that's the exception. Rather than years and years ago, I think we've announced so many times in the game's history that we're going to speed up the release of expansions and reduce content droughts.
Oh, the 1 year thing.
Yeah,
oh my
and
God.
Then it's like, cool, we're going to do it. And oh yeah, by the way, do you have a 13-month wait, in Hellfire Citadel or in Siege of Orgrimmar or whatever? And a lot of that was because we were just shifting resources like a pendulum from, all right, we're going to pull everything off this and put it over there to get this done. We don't make those trade-offs anymore. We're staffed and structured to support continuous development where it's not coming at the expense of the future.
Right, so this is going to be, you kind of discovered the holy grail of MMOs. There's an infinite content now because you've got 20 years that nobody can compete with, which is what I've seen other companies now, the big ones. What do we do here? Because they have so many different versions of the game running simultaneously. It's almost this Venn diagram of people raiding Mogashan Vaults, then I've got Manaforge Omega the next raid, and then I'm going around here. And now you're mixing in Plunderstorm, Dastardly Duos, all these extra side pieces of content. Has your role changed at all?
Yes.
I'm interested in how it's gone internally at the top to manage this.
Yeah, I mean, as the team has grown, a lot of that has been delegating, right? If you've paid attention to titles and interviews or in credits or whatever, 10 years ago, I was the game director, and we had an art director and a tech director, and that was about it. Now I'm sitting here with Maria, who's a design director over content. I'm going to be on stage tomorrow with Paul Cubitt, who is associate game director directing the Midnight expansion. And so we have folks who are empowered to make a lot of the calls that I was making 8 years ago, and my role is more ensuring kind of consistency and continuity, and that all of these things are moving harmoniously.
So is it more like what John was doing then?
Holly's role is closer to that, I would say. But it's and I think similarly, if you look at the structure, Eli Cannon is our senior art director, making sure that the art style of WoW remains cohesive across the board. But we have an art director on Midnight. We had a different art director on War Within, but the game still feels, like a cohesive whole. But that allows us to get out of, bottlenecks. Ultimately, an issue we ran into in the past, no matter how much we might have tried to grow the team, if there's just a single person who has to review and approve everything, doesn't matter how hard that person works. At some point, they just reach their limits, and things lag behind.
Yeah, I mean, what struggles have you had managing this? Because it happened rather quickly. I'd say over the last 24 months. We tracked it, and it was like, okay, now every 5 weeks, there's something pretty major coming. So which roadblocks have you hit with that process change?
Communication is a big one.
Yeah.
I think that's right. The more parallelized you become, the more there's a risk of siloing, where now the left hand doesn't know what the right is doing, and that's in part my role and some of the other top level directors. But we've all needed to relearn kind of over communication, because whereas before everyone was working on the same thing, you could just kind of take for granted that everyone had visibility. Mm-hmm. Now, in order for us to make sure that we are building something up in one place and paying it off down the line, or we're learning a valuable lesson in systems design here and not repeating the same mistake in the next expansion, we need to make sure that we're always communicating.
Would you say you're more agile now? Certainly when it comes to retail.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we also had to adjust our pipeline some too.
Yeah.
Right. Anytime you're voice recording, you need enough lead time to get that localization done. So that means we have to be ready sooner, which meant we needed to prioritize and readjust. So there were some pipeline adjustments as well.
Yeah.
But we're feeling pretty good now.
That's good, because one thing I've noticed, not getting sterile, but in the quest design, which is kind of for both of you, they haven't had a development really in how the quests are done. It's it's almost a joke. It's like, collect 8 things, kill 8 things. Have you found resistance? Because I'm sure you've had ideas of we've had Fill the Bar now for a while, which came from Warlords of Draenor, really, where it showed up. Have we had any resistance to okay, we can do different things, but the players aren't responsive to it? Or is it we've got to ease people into these kind of changes? Because it's one of the things I noticed when I come for the new expansion is the questing itself, kind of the same. Story is much better. Mm-hmm. The actual action I'm taking part in is very familiar, almost to a vanilla level. Mm-hmm. Is there a development look at that?
I mean, in terms of new objectives or new types of objectives, we try things occasionally to see how it feels. Fundamentally, we want to be able to tell the story with what we call bread and butter mechanics, so that it's easy for anyone to just play through and do it. We try new things. Sometimes they go well, sometimes they don't go so well. One of our big advances recently has been us spending a little energy looking at how to curate a story, how to take some technology we created and make lore walking. And lore walking lets us build upon that wealth of quests we have that exist already and build a coherent story out of all of them, regardless of what expansion. Lets us reorder quests and change prerequisites and so forth. That's how we can tell the story of Xalatath up to the War Within, by pulling all of those different quests, changing the requirements, letting priests, non-priests play and see that experience and so forth. So we did spend some energy there and tried that out recently, and that'll be very important to us for the recap that we're putting together for preparing people to go into Midnight if they didn't play.
War Within.
Yeah, if they didn't play War Within. So we spent a lot of energy on that tech, but I'm sure as far as quest mechanics, we're going to continue to go back to that. We added the cataloging quests. We thought that was fun. We added some climbing quests. That was kind of fun. We did some skywriting questing as well, go through the rings or bump into the bugs, that kind of thing. And we'll continue to add and try new mechanics with that.
Yeah, I think we experiment, but ultimately we also want to make sure that we're leaning into things that are strengths of our engine. We've all played janky vehicle quests or things that they're non-standard, but they're frustrating mechanically.
Hey, Flame Leviathan is genius. I love Flame Leviathan.
Indeed.
I do.
No, it was a very innovative encounter for its time, for sure. But yeah, so I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure that when we're introducing new mechanics, they're at the right level of fidelity. So I think, something like the introduction of skywriting as a universal element makes us more comfortable using that as an element in quests. Or more recently in Undermine, just the drive system. We could build world events and quests around that because we're like, okay, we've actually done the foundational work here to make sure that this is fun. If someone had tried to build a car delivery quest just using the tools we had a couple of years ago, it wouldn't have been nearly the same.
Well, I mean, that brings us to housing a little bit. I don't want to talk too much on it because I've done a lot with the housing. Thankfully, you let me go and test it out, and it was great. But that shouldn't work. From everything I knew from the years ago, is like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And then after speaking to Paul and the team over in Boston, they were like, yeah, we kind of thought, if we do this, this now works. And is this engine of WoW, people keep talking about WoW 2 and what it would be. Because seemingly now, this juggernaut that is WoW isn't stopping anytime soon, right?
It is not.
It is not. It's the lifespan isn't going anywhere. What are we doing in terms of preparing for that next 20 years? Like, we've had issues with the bags and things, but seemingly with housing, we're able to bolt things on that seemingly shouldn't work. And is that going to be a slow process of revamping things?
I think it's not bolting things on.
Okay.
It is overhauling foundations and some fundamentals of things like how instances exist, how things are saved on servers, how pathing works, how players can place objects that are now persisted on the server. And some of that is building incrementally on some small things in the past, like being able to make a choice in your garrison or having your garrison as a seamless instance where you would see that from across the zone. That seemed like a small thing at the time, but that was novel, and some small piece of that is what will let you walk past your neighbor's home and see what they've placed in their yard. Even though that is their personal instanced home, you're going to see whatever they've used to decorate their yard. But we see housing as the tech that's gone into this as an incredibly powerful foundation that we can continue to build on, not just for the housing system, but imagine what things down the line could be created with empowering players to place objects. There's a whole range of user-generated content that could exist down the line. For example, if you think about, what if instead of a table or a painting, you're placing a trap or a turret or a spawn point for something.
I built a wonderful garden out of candlesticks, upside down and slid through the wall. Are you guys prepared for the level of role play that's about to happen? As someone who's experienced it, it's going to get really wild in the next 6 months.
We're embracing it. We're excited for it.
I think
it's orders of magnitude. It's been awesome seeing, even just in the last few days here at Gamescom, right, what thousands of people each day have done with their time at the demo station, which previously had been limited experience that we'd tinkered with
internally. I saw
internally.
Paul creeping around. He was like undercover cop. He was like wearing no Blizzard things. He's like over people's shoulders. He spent his whole day there watching what's going on.
We've all been doing that.
Yeah. And in a few months, we'll see what millions of people can do with these tools and their creativity. And it's just going to be, it's exciting. I can't wait.
It's not going to garrison on us, right? It's not going to crash for like a week. We're confident.
Yeah,
we've got a reasonable amount of confidence there.
We'll have stress testing ahead of time. We'll do everything we need to do.
On that note then, for both of you, is one of the things that's still seemingly an issue that we can't fix, and we've talked about this for years, but it also involves the storytelling because it happened in Koresh, is outdoor content. To me, feels like it's got this really limited lifespan ever since you adjusted like Mythic Plus and you want to experience the story. And obviously the server lag, that world boss, I don't get. It was like the most painful experience I ever did. Would you ever consider like, yes, it's a world boss, but creating these like easy to do, fun, but instance Onyxia style environments where you can do some storytelling? It fits, because I don't know if there's a story of that dragon. I was like, I don't even know what this guy's doing really. Is that something that seemingly we can't fix, right? When there's lots of players all doing their things, and the server actually lags itself.
Yeah.
So what are we looking? Because it also doesn't seem to last very long. I had no reason to do it ever again. I got my drop, and I'm done.
Sure.
Like this is not worth it for me.
There's definitely a lot of room for improvement there. Honestly, I think we've discussed recently. We had a feature way back on Argus. Those like invasion portals that you could go to. They were basically a way of like spinning off these little mini world boss instances as an extension of the outdoor world. We're like, the first 20 people in the portal, all right, now the portal's sealed, let's spin up a new one for the next 20. That they felt like an extension of the outdoor world, but could let you have a bit more of that self-contained experience. That's the sort of thing I think we need to do more of. Ultimately, there's something, epic about the spectacle of the big world boss that everyone, flies together to take down. But the reality is we want to have hundreds of people in a given zone at the same time for that zone to feel populated and occupied. And when something pops up that calls all of those people together to the same spot, That's just, there's, quadratic equations that make that challenging.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine you, especially with like dynamic events, where
Of
you can have
course.
story things going on, where it's like, oh, you have all these people,
Yeah.
let's make things happen. Like there's still, WoW is known for really looking at what everyone else is doing and doing it better, and housing is the prime example of that. And that dynamic situation that's occurring isn't there. So is this kind of thing all on the table for like, you've done housing, it's going to keep growing. What's our next evolution? And what's the next big feature? I mean, we're getting armor dies, right? Good pause.
We'll
Appreciate
see. We're getting furniture. We got lots of furniture dice.
You do have a lot of furniture dice.
Yes.
But those kind of things I think would be really cool to have that evolution going on.
I've at other studios where I've worked, I've used systems that allowed us to create that kind of dynamic content. And of course, for me, that's a very exciting direction to go. So I'm certainly going to be trying very hard to get us to prioritize something like that.
That would be, it's great when you're wandering through a zone and things just suddenly happen.
It just pops.
Yeah, it just pops. It's a cool thing that's happening, and also reflecting the story, because I know we've talked in the past. And I kind of want to lead into the trailer, because the trailer confused me a little bit. I was obviously so excited for it. But the vibe I got, and you might have already confirmed this, I haven't seen it, is like she's beaten everywhere else in Azeroth, and the Sunwell's the last place standing. Because that's the way what I got, is like she's finally arrived at Kel'Thalas, but everywhere else is covered in void. Because you've teased. It's like, oh, there's a little bit of void stuff going on anywhere. Or are you actually holding that story back as to what's going on?
No, I mean, she went beeline for the Sunwell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was
She has just gone straight for the Sunwell.
Gotcha.
She wants the Sunwell for reasons.
Okay.
And she's just gone straight there.
Yeah. And the events, the cinematic, that is the opening scenario, that is the opening quest line that will kick off Midnight. Right? So just as the Legion cinematic teed up the Broken Shore, this is kind of teeing up that initial defense of Kel'Thalas that will then set up the rest of Midnight that follows.
You're going to walk out of that light, just like all those other people are, enjoying the fight.
I thought it was Starties. I thought we were going full Warhammer when the Army of the Light turned up. I thought, oh no, the Space Marines are here. We're in big trouble. In general, though, is there anything else that you want to change in Midnight we haven't talked about? I've got a whole bunch of stuff about add-ons, but you kind of addressed a little bit there. Things like Valor Stones and crafting. As somebody who's now playing a bit more casually, I did want to touch on that a little bit. It's like, it's very convoluted.
It is.
Valor Stones need to be shot, Ian.
We haven't committed to any specific changes yet, but the concerns and feedback on Valor Stones are not lost on us.
Yeah.
The team as a whole is taking a close, hard look at really what they continue to add in the current system. And I think crafting as well, I think there's room for more of a middle ground there. We are looking to simplify a few professions moving into Midnight. I think, there is, one of the goals of the crafting overhaul when we did it was to give people who really wanted to make crafting a core part of their character's identity a ton of depth. Be able to say, like, you know what, like, I'm a serious blacksmith and I'm going to make a fortune in gold. I'm going to be someone that people seek out and send work orders to.
Well, they created cartels, which is a wonderful part of MMOs, honestly.
And that was actively part of the goal, as opposed to, like, 10 years ago, crafting was like, everyone can make everything. It's just a button that you click and that's the end of it. But that level of complexity may be warranted in making a sword or a helm that you're going to use for the next 5 months. It's probably not warranted in making a potion that you're going to consume.
Gotcha.
Certainly not warranted in gathering things. And so I think we're looking to kind of tier out the level of complexity across professions to make sure that there are approachable points for people who want to have the fantasy of being a crafter, but don't necessarily want to go all the way down that rabbit hole.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'm good.